What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripe Show. Just gonna say it, disappointing series split with the trash Oakland, soon to be just Athletics. Scott, I am though jealous of that fan that got Aaron Boone ejected, because that is a great bar story to have for the rest of your life.
You know, I saw someone on Twitter say that they need to do a reenactment or come back with Seinfeld and have that, George Costanza being that guy who's right behind the dugout. It's perfect. It would be a great Seinfeld episode. Yeah. I mean, that guy, that I feel like not only just the bar story for you, but like I envision you as that guy. I envision your dad as that guy, and just having complete satisfaction.
Oh my God.
After the moment too. Just, I mean, not even feeling bad or any remorse for saying, just complete satisfaction. Like, I can't believe I just did that. It worked. It worked.
Yo, no, that would have given me a high for a solid 72 hours that I would not have come down from. And listen, is it absolutely preposterous that the umpire ejected Aaron Boone because he thought Boone was yelling at him and it was actually a fan in the front row? Of course. But one take that I haven't seen many people say, it's probably been on Twitter, but guess what? I'm not on Twitter anymore. I have not seen written by anyone, is that the reason Aaron Boone was tossed in that situation is because umpires hate him. And Boone is so quick to yell at umpires about everything. I talked about this last episode where I said Boone felt the need to complain about Luis Gil's clear balk, where the umpire's probably like, dude, that was a clear balk. Like, what are you wasting my time for? What are you wasting everyone's time for? Just to prove you're going to support your guys. Like, if it's a gray area, fine, come out and yell. But when something obviously happens, it's like Boone is sitting there yelling, the sky is not blue, umpire. No, Boone, the sky is blue, actually. Shut up and go sit down. So I think Boone has a reputation around the league with umpires that he's very vocal. And so the littlest things are going to tick off umpires. So what happened was Boone did bark a little bit about the hit by pitch. And the umpire's like, it hit him. I checked down to first base. Shut up. And then he was looking out at the pitcher. He heard another thing yelled. It happened to be the fan. But guess what? Instincts kick in at that moment. And so the umpire just assumed it was Boone, because Boone always yells at umpires, and tossed his ass. So you know what, Aaron? You deserved it.
So it is funny, the fact that he didn't look over and it was just instinctual. The guy, clearly has enough of a voice similarity to Boone where it just didn't matter. And he was just, at that point, Hunter Wendelstedt is just listening and waiting for anything that comes from that direction. Anything. Yep. Because Boone, in that moment, the ball clearly hit him. And to the umpire's credit, in this particular instance, he's correct in what he said. My job is to call the hit by pitch. I asked for help on the swing. That wasn't his call. He got the help that he asked for. No swing. Was it a swing? You could have gone either way. Like it was close enough to, you could say yes, it was close enough, or you say no, it wasn't all that clear, in my opinion. But I think you're right. I think that the history of Aaron Boone and the fact that he gets on people's nerves, and people, I mean umpires, some fans don't think they're actual people, but they are. They have emotions. They get annoyed. People know how to get under their skin. This is a guy who's been around forever. He's a third generation umpire.
Well, Hunter Wendelstedt is a name that's been around ever since I can remember.
Yeah. And yeah, the history, the track record of the umpire and the manager come into play. And it doesn't mean that guy has to be behind the plate all the time for all the tirades and antics that Boone makes. He just is on the staff and has seen what goes on. So yes, there was a quick hook because he talks a lot and he gives a shit and he chirps a lot. And in this instance, Wendelstedt didn't want to hear it at all. And it was coming. You can't be more well positioned as a fan,
right behind him.
And it wasn't even a bad thing he said, right? It was something like super baseball generic, come on blue, something like, it was something very generic, and you could just tell, like, it was anything that came out of his mouth, any peep that came from that dugout, no matter what happened, and Boone was getting ejected. So yeah, it's tough to watch him cry. It is egregious in the sense that, like, any umpire should not be ejecting a manager without understanding that the cause is actually coming from said dugout or said person. And I understand that he is the manager and he manages the people in there. So if someone else said it, Boone getting the hook, like I have no problem with that. But it didn't come from the dugout. It came from a fan.
Well, so this is where Hunter Wendelstadt lost me, because after the game he was asked about it and he said he heard something from down the other end of the dugout and that's what he was reacting to, which is bullshit. Like, you heard the fan, you thought it was Boone, and you tossed him. And I almost wish he just said that, because it would shed light on what we've just been talking about, which is this is a reputation that Boone has built up with umpires. Umpires as a I was going to call them a community. I don't know that that's the right word for them. Umpires as a entity, whatever,
as a brotherhood,
as whatever they are, as a unit, as a why can't I think of the right word? Is there an umpires union? Whatever. I'm getting off track. Umpires are sensey right now. They're big sensey because robo umpires are coming and they know it. Okay, and as far as Aaron Boone goes, like, you go back to the Savages in the Box rant. What was that, 2019 season? He embarrassed that umpire. Okay, that umpire was a rookie umpire. That guy, I don't remember his name, but he got dragged through the mud all over the internet for days and days. You don't think that trickles around the umpire community of like, oh, we got to support our guy. We can't let a manager embarrass us like that over things. For a lot of the time, I understand Boone always complains about Aaron Judge getting low strike calls and all these other things. But when Boone,
warranted,
when you're arguing,
that is an argument that is warranted.
When you're chirping about a balk or about a hit by pitch or about the littlest of things, umpires are getting tired of it. Wait for your moment to complain about things that deserve to be complained about. Otherwise, you're going to keep getting quick hooks.
We're also talking about a Monday day game against the Oakland Athletics. So in that regard, we know you mentioned the Savages in the Box. That was also a day game against, I forget who the team was,
Tampa.
but they were against Tampa. But was it a makeup? It was a weird game.
It was a doubleheader, and it was a single admission doubleheader. So there was it was early in that first game that, just like on Monday, there was probably 20% of the stadium full at that point.
Right. And when you have that, you have hot mics all over the place too. So if you don't think that the umpires also are walking into that game knowing that, hey, it's going to be a little bit more quiet. I'm sure it's talked about with them. It's going to be quiet. Things you say are going to be picked up. So yeah, I think in that regard, also quick hook, like there was maybe some, he was telegraphing it. Like he was anticipating something like you said, from Boone.
He was waiting for something to be said. You know how when you're like,
I can't wait for this guy to say one more thing. I can't wait for this guy to say one more thing.
I was going to say, you're in an argument with your wife and you're just waiting for her to say something that you're like hoping she says just so you can attack back with something. I gotcha.
Yeah.
That's what Hunter Wendelstadt was doing. The only thing that would have been better is if it was like a hot dog vendor yelling, hot dogs, get your hot dogs here. And that's what got Boone tossed. That would have been the only thing that would have been better. But yeah, obviously it's ridiculous that he got thrown out of the game for what a fan said. But I wish more people, whether it's the broadcasters or whether it's, the media that are writing things on these, MLB.com or whatever, brought up the fact that, like, okay, it's ridiculous what happened, but let's think about why this happened.
Yes. And that's exactly it. The track record is there, but he also had a terrible strike zone. So
yeah, sure.
there were some,
but we didn't know that at that point. That was 5 pitches in the game. That was 5 pitches into the game. So we didn't know that at that point.
Yeah. On that given day. But yeah, there were some egregious strike three calls by Mr. Wendelstadt III.
I've got a question for you, Scott. Can you speak a second language?
I've tried for many years, in high school, in college, and no, I cannot speak a second language.
I knew the answer to that because I figured after like 900 something episodes that we've done, that would have come up at some point if you were fluent in another language. Well, the best way to learn a language is obviously immersion, living where the language is spoken. But if that is not in the cards for you, the next best way to do it is with Babbel. I love using Babbel because their convenient courses fit into my hectic schedule. Lessons are only 10 minutes long, and they are handcrafted by over 200 language experts to help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. Babbel is designed by real people for real conversations. There won't be any flashbacks to high school language class where you're just getting a teacher drilling the alphabet into your brain that you cannot remember. Babbel is about real-life situations that you might find yourself in, ordering food, asking for directions, and just conversing like a real speaker of that language. Babbel has over 16 million subscriptions sold, plus all of Babbel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by their 20-day money-back guarantee. Here's a special limited-time deal for our listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription. This is only for our listeners at babbel.com/Bronx. That is 60% off. That's an amazing deal. 60% off at babbel.com/Bronx. That is spelled BABBEL.com/Bronx. Bronx. Rules and restrictions may apply. All right, let's get to some of these Oakland series takeaways. As I mentioned, disappointing split with a bad team. And the offense in general, just like there's times it looks just like the offense of last year with Juan Soto stuck in the middle there, where like Juan Soto's getting on base, but then the rest of the lineup isn't doing jack shit. And I feel like that's been the case more so in the last week and a half or 2 weeks, because we saw them get shut out. What was that over the weekend? Saturday, and then they got shut out again on Monday. And then if not for a Trevino home run on Thursday, they would have been shut out again. Wasted opportunities, like the bases loaded, no out situation in the first inning on Thursday night, and you get Stanton whiff and an immediate double play by Rizzo. It's just like, it's a momentum crusher. And then even when we did see this team score some runs, like they put up a big crooked number in the first inning on Tuesday and then just crickets for the rest of the game. So this offense has been very streaky in recent couple of weeks, and at times it looks just as bad as last year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not getting. I don't get the feeling of the way I felt last year.
That's
at
true.
all.
It's not the doom feeling, but why is
No.
that? Because
Because
every
Juan
ninth
Soto's
guy,
there.
Juan Soto's coming back up, and you're like, okay, at least he's going to get on base, and then there's going to be some action, and the pitcher will have to work, and maybe they'll run into something.
Well, we've also seen this team come back multiple times already in a young season. I've seen guys who have adjusted their swings. Volpe is seemingly like working through himself out of this slump as well, and I think he's had some much better at bats over the Oakland series. So there's a lot more guys in here that I trust with the bat, that I trust, and that have the ability to get on base. Back-to-back bunt attempts we saw as well, and I was waiting, and the fact that Volpe offered on that first pitch after Wells laid the bunt down too made me very happy, because again, being held on and also tried to go for the bunt base hit is what he did. All you got to do is you got to pass the pitcher at that point, and he's on, and he saw that opportunity. But the fact that they're even contemplating doing those types of things to get on base in any way, to break out of a slump, like I appreciate that. Baseball is a game of streaks. It's a game of minimizing damage as much as you can throughout a long period of time. And I think so far they've done that. I don't feel, I really like, as a fan watching the games, it's not even close to what it was last year. And I understand the Soto effect can
there's
run
other
really
reasons
deep into that
too,
mindset, but the rest of the team is picking up. I mean, Oswaldo Cabrera has been
their second best hitter. Oswaldo Cabrera has been their second best hitter. No,
and you know what? He's been very good on defense too, which I don't think he's gotten a lot of credit for. But there was a play on Monday, I think it was, where there was a ball that he ran around, scooped with his glove, and made on the a throw on the run, kind of against his momentum, and was just a dart. Like he's really playing well over there, and it seems like he's getting even more accustomed to that third base spot. So that's good to see, especially
You're right.
with the LeMahieu injury news, which we'll talk about soon.
I'm being a little unfair, because also it's not just Juan Soto's the difference. The difference is also the names, because last year the offense was so pitiful because the half of the lineup consisted of guys like Jake Bauers and Willie Calhoun and Josh Donaldson and Billy McKinney. And you're like, okay, well, there's literally no hope of any offense here.
Right.
Whereas even though right now a lot of guys in the Yankees lineup are struggling, there is still hope because the names are far and away better. And one guy that I'm extremely disappointed in, and this is not because I've hated on him in the past, is because he's been their worst everyday player is Gleyber Torres, and he's just been a black hole in their lineup. He's been by far their worst offensive player. I pulled some numbers on him here. He's got a 62 WRC plus, a 27% strikeout rate. He's hitting 202 and slugging 223, and he's been in run producing situations in the middle of that lineup behind Rizzo, behind Stanton, and he's been nothing for them.
Yeah, he's in a contract year too, and I know there was an article written about that because guys are asking him, is this on your mind? Is this something that you're thinking about right now? You're going to be a free agent. The Yankees obviously haven't engaged with you about any type of an extension or really any contemplation of what the future looks like, and if you're part of it. But that's par for the course. That's what they do. They wait. So if they are here with him, in this moment and not talking about anything, and he's dwelling on it, which I don't think he is. It's just an easy.
Really?
I think it's an easy question to ask. Yeah, I think.
Of course, it's an easy question to ask. You don't think this is weighing on? You don't think Gleyber Torres, this would get to him? You don't think his free agency and pressure that he might be putting on himself to have a contract year is getting to him? Because if there's one player in this lineup that I think would be affected by that, it's Gleyber Torres.
I think maybe later in the year he's gonna, there's some pressing potentially. I don't know. As a player, I just have a hard time thinking that these guys, when they go into their day to play baseball and they're gearing up to play baseball, that they're thinking about any of that crap. I just don't think they are. So I think that he is.
I think you're giving him too much credit.
I know you believe that Gleyber Torres is a mental midget and he just doesn't have the ability to get past things, and he dwells on stuff and things.
When he thinks about things, he's bad. Look at the play last night when the ball hit the bag. Reaction. Great play by Gleyber.
Yep.
The ball bounced off. It took a random hop off of the second base bag. This was late in the game. Gleyber was there to field it, flipped to Volpe. Instinct play. I've never questioned Gleyber Torres' talent as a baseball player. I've questioned his brain, his baseball IQ. It's
when he
bad.
has too much time.
When he has time to think about things, whether it's a simple play in the field, a base running play, a big at bat, the fact that I have a contract looming over me, he crumbles. He's weak in that sense.
I think it's more about in the moment and being able to adjust after some type of something happens in the game. Something like a contract looming. It's such an umbrella over an entire season that I don't see how a professional athlete in that moment is really going to make that part of the excuse in how they're struggling. Maybe it's something subliminal in the back of their minds.
Yeah.
Who knows?
We've seen guys respond and play better in contract years. Maybe they do extra training. Maybe they get some stuff, some supplements. Who knows?
Let's relax. Let's relax on that. Sometimes guys just try harder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to decide to hit home runs this year. I'm not going to hit home runs next year or the year before. I want to hit home runs this year for my contract. But then next year, I'm not going to hit home runs.
If he was so worried about getting a long-term contract and succeeding in that, he would have stayed. He would have decided to be a better shortstop, because that would have given him the ability to earn more on the free agent market when said contract is up.
Gleyber Torres had a very good season last year, and it was as we talked about, more consistent of a season. He didn't have the wild swings up and down, which was better. If he reproduced that year this year, he didn't have to have a better year necessarily. He needed to reproduce that year. I think he would have. I still think he's going to have contract demand in the winter, but he'd be looking at a 6-year contract from somebody this winter, north of $100 million. And if he has an abysmal year this year, there's going to be serious questions about, are you really going to commit to Gleyber Torres if you're a team? So the overall offensive stats, we obviously just talked about Gleyber. The overall offensive stats, actually the ranks are better than I thought they were going to be, but I think that's obviously the first couple weeks of the season, they were much better. I think if we split these into first half of April, second half of April, they'd look a little different, but then you're talking small sample size. But overall, they are first in the American League in on-base percentage at .329, and they are sixth in MLB for on-base percentage, so a couple National League teams ahead of them. They're 8th in the AL in slugging, 19th in MLB, 6th in the AL in OPS, 14th in MLB, 7th in the AL in batting average. That ranks 17th in MLB. So as you can see, National League seems to be hitting a little bit better than the American League so far this year. WRC Plus, they rank 8th in Major League Baseball at 110. They're 16th in MLB for runs, and that's 4.3 runs per game. And offensive WAR, they rank 8th. So pretty middle of the road offense so far, which I thought maybe they'd be slightly worse than middle of the pack, but that's probably just the recent cold streaks clouding that judgment.
Yeah, and again, it's like you go into these cold streaks and you're waiting for them to come out, and I just have a better feeling for them to come out. The one thing I did notice, and I know we pulled some numbers and it's kind of inconclusive, but during that JP Sears, which, yeah, does it sting a little bit more that it's a guy JP Sears? But at the end of the day, did anybody really expect JP Sears to be a high quality? I think everybody thought he could be a good, back of the rotation type of guy. He knows how to pitch, and he's definitely gotten better at that. He's learned how to pitch. So his 94-mile-an-hour fastball rides faster than what the gun is picking up because of his off-speed pitch, pitch selection, and the fact that he's able to locate. And the Yankees had a tough time with the off-speed stuff this series, and that was just something I noticed. We pulled numbers to see if there was anything glaring or any trends you could see from the team up and down the lineup, from fastball to off-speed. Nothing totally sticking out, but from the eye test, they had a tough time. Even Soto had a tough time. He struck out more than we've seen him strike out. And, one of them was, I don't think he saw a strike and still struck out.
But do you know what's kind of concerning with these numbers that we pulled here? So we pulled from StatCast, ranks by run value, which is the run impact of an event based on the runners on base, outs, balls, and strike count. And we pulled this by pitch seen, so whatever pitch is thrown to the batter. A 0 is basically neutral, negative is obviously bad, and positive numbers are good. Against four-seam fastballs, which is the most common pitch you're going to see, the Yankees have only 2 players in the lineup that have positive run value. Verdugo at +2 and Soto at +5. Stanton is neutral. Everyone else is negative. That's not good. That most of the lineup is negative, and the only 2 guys that are positive are new additions to the team.
Yeah, but at the same time, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 guys sitting there at -1. Aaron Judge is one of them with the struggles that he had. He's hitting sub 200 and still
a positive WRC plus though. As bad as Aaron Judge has been, a 107 WRC plus.
So that number against the fastball is going to flip on its head. There's no doubt about it's going to flip on its head. He can hit the fastball. I don't think anybody's really questioning if Aaron Judge can hit a fastball or not. I think some of these numbers are a little skewed based on the recent or just his slow start.
The struggles. Yeah, these guys.
Yeah,
these guys
Anthony Rizzo
struggled.
also, I don't know. I just don't have a lot of concern about the guys. The ones who you're looking at as more concerning, obviously Trevino, who is not a great offensive player, so that checks. And then the guy who we just talked about, Gleyber Torres, is at the bottom of these lists and struggling against everything. But the fastball struggling against mightily at a -4 run differential, or run value. It's a little bit of a, that's what I'm saying. Like I noticed it, but when you look at the numbers, I don't think it's glaring. I think that when there's a guy that has a really good pitch mix against this team, those are the guys that the Yankees have a tougher time matching up against. If a guy, and like you could just say duh to me because if a guy can locate those pitches, obviously he's tougher to hit.
You're saying the offense is going to struggle if a guy can dart fastballs on the black, throw a nasty breaking ball, and also change eye level, mix in and out, 4 pitches.
But that's going against conventional wisdom and conventional pitching in today's world. JP Sears isn't blowing anybody away with a fastball. He's, again, throwing 94 miles per hour, on a good day. And but that 94-mile-an-hour fastball is coming up on you much quicker when you're locating different off-speed pitches and you're switching the eye levels, as you're saying. Like the guy can pitch and he's learning how to pitch, even more as he's becoming a better pro. So yeah, those are the guys that can actually pitch. They're very tough, and you catch them on a good day, and you got to look for certain spots for them to miss for you to be able to make impact. And unfortunately for the Yankees, they couldn't do it. And then, oh, by the way, this kid Miller who comes in at the end of the game on multiple occasions, is throwing 103, 102 miles per hour and dotting the fastballs. Like, there's no chance. If Luis Gil could dot a fastball like this kid's dotting a fastball, he would be also
Luis Gil doesn't
unhittable.
throw 103 though.
He doesn't throw 103, but he juices it up there. And this kid throws with a shorter arm delivery, which to me makes it come up on the batter even faster. So it's probably playing more like 105, 106, and he throws it often. It's difficult. It's difficult to hit, but
well,
the
negative run value against fastballs really played in the back of that Oakland bullpen, because you mentioned Mason Miller, Lucas Ursig, like these guys are coming with absolute filth. High 90s, 100+ mile an hour fastballs with off-speed stuff that doesn't even have to be devastating, just needs to be okay near the strike zone. If you're a hitter needing to prepare for 100 miles an hour plus, if a guy can throw a slider near the strike zone, you are SOL. You have no chance.
This is what we said forever about Aroldis Chapman. If he could just figure out some semblance of a secondary pitch and be able to locate it over the strike zone, it doesn't even need to be all that good. It just needs to be, in the back of someone's head that it's a possibility it's going to come and respect it enough that they believe that you can throw it for a strike. And Mason Miller showed all of that. He showed enough of a off-speed pitch where he's throwing it over the plate, and then the fastball is just absolutely devastating. So
we were joking in our chat, like, can Brian Cashman just get one of these guys before they leave town? Like, what do you need? Because that bullpen, just like stuff-wise, the back of that bullpen versus the back of the Yankees bullpen right now, it's night and day.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. So 2 things from what you just said. We're going to start keeping track now of a hit list for Cashman as we're seeing. And I think it's nice.
Should actually, you know what you should do? You should write it in the back and put it on your wall in like red lipstick.
Yeah. Okay. I'll do that. I will. So this is a good opportunity for us because of the way that the schedule is in Major League Baseball now. We see a lot more teams. We see a lot more players, which is cool. It gives us an opportunity, not to say that we wouldn't have seen Oakland, we would have, but we get an opportunity to
seeing
go
Milwaukee this weekend. That's not
right.
Every day.
And you see more. You just see more of these teams, so we're able to see who they are up close and personal. So we're going to start adding guys to a hit list for Brian Cashman that we want to be going after at the trade deadline. And the bullpen, as I've been pretty consistent on, like that's to me an area that he's going to need to hit, and he's going to need to get more bodies back there. So Oakland, who is a very good trade partner. Clearly, Brian
just
Cashman
looking for prospects, looking for
for more bodies, just some warm bodies.
Well, actually, how old is Mason Miller? Also, his arm's going to fall off because did they talk about
Mason Miller's 25 right now. I looked it up.
Yeah, so they're not trading him. Ursig is 28. Mason Miller had a UCL injury last year. He didn't get surgery, but they shut him down. They were talking about this on the broadcast because he came up as a starter. I believe he was like a higher level pitching prospect for Oakland, and they shifted him to the bullpen. But damn, that kid has some stuff.
Why do you think that they're not going to trade him? They probably will. They will trade.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah,
everybody's on the table
because the guy's, like I said, his arm's going to fall off. But that at bat against Trevino in the 8th inning last night when Miller came in, like, good on Trevino for working that to a 3-2 count. But at that point, he was in swing mode, and that was clearly ball 4. The ball almost hit him in the chest, but he was swinging as soon as that ball came out of Miller's hand.
Kind of has to. There's not a lot of reaction time, and like I said, the way that his mechanics are, that ball jumps on you even more. So
I feel like he's also like 75% legs. It's just you have like some long, thick legs.
Yeah, he's tough, man. He's tough. If he is made available at some point, that's a guy that I'm very interested in. What's the other guy's name? Ursig. Also had some interesting delivery stuff. Pops. I was looking at his career numbers. I don't know much about him, but last year he was north of a 4 ERA in the bullpen. But I don't know. Maybe he's figured it out. As we know, bullpens are year by year. Guys figure it out and take another step in their career with in a very short amount of time. And then if they can repeat what they're doing, they could have a very good career. So these are 2 guys that are to start the list. 2 guys that are on the list, and I will make the list behind me. Do it in lipstick.
They'll give it people to watch on YouTube. As we said, the Yankees are going to Milwaukee to play the Brewers this weekend. That's not something we see all too often. And it's not the early 90s anymore when the Brewers were still in the AL. You remember back then? Yeah, I think
do.
this was this would have been
The Robin Yount days.
Pre-expansion. So it would have been, I think, before the 98 season when Tampa came into the league. I think that's
AL
when
Central.
No, well, there was just two. At that point,
Right,
there were three divisions, but
Yeah.
in the early 90s, there was just an AL East and an AL West.
Yep.
And the Brewers were in the East.
The Astros were in the National League.
The Astros were in the National League, but the Astros came over to the American League in like 2010 or something like that.
Yeah.
Or like
By the way,
2012.
it is nice to see the Astros struggle, by the way.
Sure. I'm still not ruling them out. I feel like until I literally see them dead on the floor with their heads cut off, I'm not resting.
It's just nice to see them struggle. That's all I'm saying.
It is. If you're looking for tickets for a game, whether on the road or at home, try using Game Time. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, meaning buying tickets to a baseball game on Game Time is now easier and faster than ever. The app has a ton of great features. What are my favorite features of the Game Time app, Scott? Do you remember offhand of how many times I've said this? That's a no.
The way
flash
that you can
deals.
see the flash deals and the fact that you can see seats.
You can see the seats, real pictures from inside the venue, the flash deals. So if you're just looking for the best deal, you can go to the flash deals section. It basically tells you where prices are dropping so you can be opportunistic about your buying. And also you can do the all-in pricing option so there's no surprise fees at checkout. It has many other features as well. Those happen to be three of my favorites. Game Time is the best way to buy tickets to sporting events, but you can also find tickets to concerts, comedy shows, theater, and much more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section in the same row for less money, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code BRONX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Once again, create an account and redeem code BRONX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you, Game Time. I've had a lot of coffee this morning. Carlos Rodon, best start in a Yankee uniform. 7 innings. He threw 92 pitches in 7 innings. That's pretty economical. He only allowed 1 hit. He hit 2. Did he hit 1 or 2 guys? He walked 2. So it was 5 total base runners in 7 innings. Like by the numbers, best start in a Yankee uniform.
Yeah, good for him. I'm glad. This is what we need against an Oakland. Against the Oakland Athletics, this is what Carlos Rodon should be doing. He should be coming out and mowing them over and going 7+ innings. So I'm glad This is what. Look, he's been very good this whole season so far. This is exactly what we need.
Very good.
What we needed from yeah. Compared to my expectations, yeah,
that's different. Compared to your expectations.
You know what? It's part of how I think. It's part of the way I assess things. I got to if I were to not include my expectations in the way I think, then I would be just doing a disservice to the way I talk. The guy has been good, and this is exactly what he should be doing. He's doing his job and he's doing it well. So I appreciate that. And yeah, again, I was before we started recording, I was like, well, he hit 2 guys, started walking some guys, but you look at the amount of runners that he's on, and that's all that matters at the end of the day.
5 in 7 innings is very good.
Very good. For sure.
That was a very good start. I think early in the season when we saw him struggling to even get into the 5th inning, he was at 95 pitches and out in the 5th inning. You're like, all right, this is painful to watch. But yeah, that was a very good start against a lineup he was able to attack. It's just that the Yankees offense did absolutely nothing, and you jinxed the shit out of Victor Gonzalez because Monday morning we recorded, you're talking about how you felt really good about Victor Gonzalez. He comes in at like 3:30 in the afternoon that day, gives up a 2-run bomb.
Yeah, I mean, calling it a bomb is a bit generous, but yeah, it was a home run that was a 2-run shot that ended up being the difference in the game. So sorry about that. That's on me. I'll take it. He came back later in the series and pitched well, so still have that confidence. There are blips on the radar, but he still gives me that type of feeling. But yeah, I completely jinxed him. It was almost immediate too.
Oh, it was one of your faster working jinxes. Yeah. It was great. You also you were saying some stuff about Stroman before we that was before we recorded, right? I can't remember. We talked before we recorded. I don't know if we talked about
if it was on the air or not. So Mark, I just wanted to give him some flowers, even in an effort that didn't look the greatest in the box score, but I just think he's been really consistent and really good. He's been more than what I was expecting. He's brought stability to the rotation.
But really, I feel like this is
I don't know.
I
Again,
think
this
in
goes back
line
to
with
my
what I was
expectations.
expecting for him. This is kind of what he was a very effective pitcher with Chicago last year pre-injury.
Before he got injured, he wasn't he an all-star? He was having a hell of a year.
Yeah, and maybe he hasn't been that good this year, but he's been probably their most consistent starter, where every start you kind of know what you can count on from Stroman.
And even for him, like the line, he gave up 3 runs, but that first run in the run in the first inning, at the end of the day, like that's on Juan Soto a bit. He misplayed the ball, and guys were just running on him. Took him a minute to get the ball to throw it in. That guy's not scoring. If he's held and Soto just plays that ball in front of him, and then Stroman, as he did, gets the next guy to get out, and he's out of the inning. So the first home run was a bad pitch. It was a breaking ball up in the zone that was just hammered. And then the second home run by Butler, I think it was not a bad pitch. It was a good breaking ball down in the zone, and he just put a really good swing on it, golfed it out for a home run. So nine strikeouts in what, 5 2/3. Obviously you want to see the pitch count be a little bit more efficient so you can get through that 6th inning. But again, like he's been dependable. He's seems like a really good teammate. His celebrations are top notch in the dugout. Like he just seems like he has a blast every time. He's got some really good throwback tees that I've been appreciating. I just appreciate Marcus Stroman as a New York Yankee right now, and I think he was a really good late add by Cashman. So I'm glad that nobody else saw the light with him and didn't want to pick him up, but he was a really good addition.
The rotation, especially during the stretch which the Yankees team has not been scoring, the rotation has been keeping them in every game, because like Cortez had another good start. Schmidt, even though he struggled again, 3rd time through the order. Before that, he was dominant before that.
Dominant. So, and I know you said something in our chat about like, when are the Yankees going to learn to
well, when are they going to learn?
Well, let me tell you why. They know, they have learned, they understand. But when you're in a 5-0 game against the Oakland Athletics, and you get a guy like Clark Schmidt,
you see if he can do it. So maybe I should have rephrased that question. When are we all going to accept that Clark Schmidt's ceiling is 2 times through the order? Because here are some numbers. First time through the order, he allows a 250 batting average with a 325 slugging. That's a 643 OPS. Very, very effective. Second time through the order, a 211 batting average, a 316 slugging, a 627 OPS. So actually, he has shown the ability to pitch better second time through the order. Third time through the order, a 563 batting average, a 1100 slugging percentage, and a 1700 OPS. This isn't just like kind of worse. It's alarming for sure. He can't pitch third time through the order. Every time out, he can't do it. So when are we all going to accept as a community, again, that's my word of the day, when are the Yankees going to accept, when are we going to accept Clark Schmidt is a 2 times through the order pitcher? That's all he is. That's his ceiling.
If there is a close game in a series that you don't need, that you can rely on your bullpen a little bit more. You've gotten length. You've done the things like their pitching staff's in a good spot. You have an off day coming up, like things like that. If everything lines up, if things are lining up, and you have the ability to pull him at that point against a good team in a close game, again, sure, you got to look at those numbers because those numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie in this case. Like he is significantly worse third time through. Obviously, there's something where he is becoming much more hittable. Guys,
it's probably a combination of fatigue, location. I think his pitches, like I know you like his
location's
stuff.
Always been his location earlier in his career, and again, not just missing off the plate, but missing his spots has been an issue. So I absolutely attribute some of the fatigue deeper into the game with the fact that he's not as sharp, missing some of those spots. He does become very hittable at that moment.
Well, because his stuff is not overpowering. Okay.
Right.
He needs to locate for his stuff to be effective. And if he doesn't locate even by a little bit, if he misses by a little bit, his stuff is very hittable. And that's what we're seeing third time through the order. I don't know. I have no confidence that Clark Schmidt is ever going to overcome that because I don't think he's talented enough as a pitcher to overcome that. I think he's effective as a number 5 starter 2 times through the order, maybe bleeds into that 5th inning kind of area, but that's what he is.
In situations like they had yesterday, or when he threw in that game against that opponent in that circumstance at home.
Yeah, I understand.
I want them to continue to trot him out so that he can exercise his demons, or at least have the opportunity to exercise his demons and learn through this. And you know who I think could be a big help here, and hopefully throughout the season, this is a guy who can lend some good advice or just opportunities to get better, is Marcus Stroman. Marcus Stroman is not a dissimilar pitcher in the regard that he doesn't have the greatest stuff in the world, but he locates well. Marcus Stroman can put the ball where he wants to and understands how to get through a lineup 3 times. He does know how to do that. So hopefully he can elevate it. And again, I'm hopeful more because you don't think his stuff as far as
he doesn't have swing. He doesn't have swing and miss stuff,
but he's got enough. He's got enough of an arsenal for him to be able to use them and game plan well enough for him to get through that 3rd inning. I still think it's there, and maybe I'm just being stubborn and I just want this to happen.
Well, obviously,
but there are guys like him who have done this for sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure there'll be a point in the season this year where it's against a team like Oakland. You've got a 5-run lead. They push him that 3rd time through the order, and he succeeds, and he can pitch into the 6th inning or something like that. I still will not ever feel comfortable in a meaningful game against a meaningful opponent for Clarke Schmidt entering that 3rd time through the order. I think you need to get him out of the game at that point against a good team that you need to win a game against.
Unless he builds some momentum and can show you more in the regular season, you're absolutely right. And that's exactly what they're going to do. But it does depend, and it puts the team in a situation where they're relying more on their bullpen for a guy. And right now he's the number 3 guy, but they don't need to rely on him once Garrett Cole is back. Yeah. He's a guy that you're expecting the bullpen to be, an integral part of that game. If the rotation is the way, that they walked into the season.
If you just compare though, what we've seen with Luis Gil, where I think back to that Toronto game where he could not locate anything, but his stuff was just so overpowering that they still didn't put up runs against him. And he got through 5 innings because it's just stuff was that good. Clarke Schmidt is kind of the complete opposite of Luis Gil.
Yes. I've said this all along for Clarke Schmidt. He's got to hit his spots. If Clarke Schmidt is not hitting his spots, if he's leaving the ball over the plate, and when you're into the 3rd time through and you're approaching, 80, 90 pitches at that point, your arm is not as fresh as it was when you started.
Guys have seen you already 2 at-bats. They've seen what your fastball looks like. They've seen what your off-speed stuff looks like.
And if you're not able to repeat those mechanics and hit those spots that 3rd time through, you're going to get hit. And especially him, he's going to get hit because his stuff over the middle of the plate is not good enough to get past people. And that's the difference between him and Luis Gil. Luis Gil has that raw shit, that raw stuff that's nasty. And that if he misses location,
doesn't matter.
Unless guys are just spitting on it, it's still tough to hit because it's got late movement. It's, upper 90s. He's got that raw natural talent that he can get away with things.
Last year, Clarke Schmidt's OPS 3rd time through the order was over 900. It was in the low 900s range. Obviously right now it's 1700. That's still small-ish sample size, but this is obviously a trend we carry, we've talked about for a long time. So I do think the numbers are meaningful in that.
And I will say real quick, just as a caveat for the month of April, I do think the month of April is a tough one to judge starting pitchers, even with success or failures in certain moments. This is a month where they are still getting worked up completely. It's a cold month, which is tougher on pitchers.
When can I judge? What's the date?
I'm just saying for me, I don't fully know what a guy is after April.
Well, guess what? It's April 26th and we're doing a podcast right now.
Yeah.
So it's not very interesting to just say, well, I don't really have an opinion right now because it's only been.
No, I have an opinion on what he's doing. I have an opinion for sure. You have an opinion. Everybody has an opinion on what we're watching, but also this is the month where you're looking at, okay, what can I improve upon for the duration of the season? You're still taking a lot of notes and figuring some stuff out, I think, in this first month. So yeah, we know what he has to improve on. This is not a new thing. This is something that's been continuing, but hopefully he's able to get past it.
Before we talk about the DJ stuff, when Judge hit that home run on Wednesday and the pitcher didn't come set, and so Judge took strike 3, thought it was strike 3, started walking back to the dugout. The ump said, no, pitcher didn't come set. Were you as confused by that as I was? Because I feel like he then did the exact same thing the next pitch and like the umpire didn't say anything. So like, do you know what I'm talking about? Like how he didn't come fully set, but I feel like that was just, he was consistent with his motion the whole time. And I didn't really see a difference. I'm looking up, I forget the pitcher's name, Boyle.
I think some of these guys, when they become set, especially in the new rules too, with the engagement and then being set and not being,
it's a little subjective.
There's definitely some gray area with how they're calling. And I think especially if you have a newer guy that's not, known throughout, then it's a little bit of a
lock eyes with the guy.
But guess what? It
lock
worked
eyes.
Out.
Like meet the parents, just meet the fuckers right here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
It worked out nicely.
DJ. Oh boy. We're going to talk about DJ LeMahieu. It's brought to you by Unified Healing. Road to Recovery is sponsored by Unified Healing. Go to unifiedhealing.com/Bronx to learn more and find a center near you. That is spelled UNIFYD healing.com/Bronx. DJ started his rehab on Tuesday and immediately ended his rehab after 1 inning because of soreness in his right foot. He's going to be shut down for at least 7 days and then receive treatment on his foot. So to recap, Friday, we learned DJ LeMahieu's rehab is not going to start on time because an MRI showed there was still the healing was not complete in the foot, but they said he'll be good by Tuesday. He'll be good by Tuesday. Tuesday rolls around. Unclear if they did another MRI before he started his rehab, but Tuesday rolled around. They started his rehab. First inning, comes out of the game with a sore foot. This is how the Yankees medical staff operates now, going on 7 years. And
DJ was hell-bent about playing on Friday, geared up. And from everything he was saying, he was ready to go. Now, okay, so I have
this is insanely frustrating.
This is insanely frustrating for the fact that they put it all out there for us to see. That's the biggest thing, right? Because at the end of the day, he played barely anything. He was trying to ramp up, which he had been doing to get to this point anyway, right? Behind closed doors, he had been ramping up, testing the foot, doing all the things, making sure that it was there. But the fact that we know that they were going to start a rehab on Friday, the doctor, second opinion came in and said, you know what? It's not healing the way we want. Let's do Tuesday. 4 days later, much better situation. I don't know if that was a compromise with the player, but at the end of the day, he came out of it so quickly. It's not like he re-injured it. It's not like it was immediate. He did anything to push back the date.
He took an at-bat and he felt. Yeah. So you're telling me like he didn't feel that in batting practice or didn't feel that in fielding drills or base running drills that he was doing to prepare for this rehab game? It's the
point is that whether he took that at bat in a game or he didn't, like it doesn't change the fact that it wasn't healed. So I don't think I don't think it helps or hurts the rehab necessarily. It's just, it wasn't ready yet. He wasn't ready yet. So I know a lot of people are looking at like, well, now this is going to set him back even further.
He is being shut down for 7 days.
Yeah. But that should have happened anyway is my point.
You're right.
This should have happened on Friday anyway.
It's more about the incompetence.
It doesn't change the timetable. It changes the fact that we thought the guy was healing, or he thought he was healing. He's just not healing. So he just shouldn't have been in there in the first place.
It's about the incompetence of it and how they approach it. It's that they told us on Friday he's not healed and he'll be fine by Tuesday. And then Tuesday rolls around, he plays a game and he's hurt still. You're just like, well, duh. You told us he was hurt on Friday.
That is the most ridiculous thing, is that they're coming out saying that Friday, no, Tuesday, yes. What happens in that 4 day span? You're telling me the bones magic, they slapping some Flex Seal on this shit? Like what is going on in those 4 days that is going to magically make him that much better? Like it's not even 4 days, then we'll review it again to see where it is. No, 4 days and he's good to play. That's it. Like just good to play. So yeah,
Cashman said,
just keep this shit behind the scenes. Stop talking about it in public in the way that you're talking about it in the public, so that we have this to react to. If you just shut up and just say that it's not healing the way we want it to heal,
or listen to your doctors.
That's discouraging and disappointing for us as a fan base and for the team who wants their guy back. But it is what it is. The bone's healing the way the bone's going to heal.
But like, you have to question the decision making by the medical staff. Brian Cashman said Tuesday came and showed that the date was still premature. So hopefully it's just as simple as giving him more time and nothing more complicated than that. The doctors took an MRI, said the foot's still not healed, but yeah, go ahead and play on Tuesday. Those two things are not aligned. Those two things are,
I agree.
in opposition.
Agree with you. And
you and me,
shut up.
Two morons on the internet, can figure out if an MRI still shows an injury.
Well, one moron, and I'm a doctor, so
MRI says still hurt. Yeah. I say don't play. That's pretty
Certainly
much
not in 4 days.
You know what that is, Scott? That is common sense.
Common sense.
Which there's still none to be had. What happened to who's the guy who got rehired that we talked to Max about? The guy who got rehired to be like an advisor of like morale or something like that. Remember? Dietrich.
Oh yeah.
Where's Dietrich on this?
He's in this Nick Swisher mode, just jazzing people up and like, yeah, no problem. You don't feel it. You actually don't feel it. You don't feel it. Just go play. You're fine. Look, the fact, yes, you can't. The fact that you're declaring on Friday that it's no good but then Tuesday it's fine. You don't know what Tuesday brings. What if DJ walks up the stairs funny? What if he's shooting hockey pucks in his apartment again? And and as he did in COVID, because that's what we saw him doing, and is, I don't know, leans on that foot a little weird. And
it's just
stop being definitive with what you're saying.
It's just someone in that organization needs to see what happened on Friday and be like, guys, this doesn't make sense.
Let's run this by the Department of Common Sense, please. Just quickly. That's all we need to do. And then we say, guys, does not make any sense. Look, this makes no sense. How about we reevaluate next week, get another MRI, and see what the doctors say at that point?
Yeah.
Maybe that's a better way to go about it. And also, can we just not talk about all this detail
just stop
in public?
saying this?
Stop talking all this detail in public and putting it out there for everybody to react to. Maybe that'll, help the way that this is going in the public eye.
Do you think if the Yankees put out a Twitter poll, what would the percentage have been to like, is this a good idea? Like,
it would have been
Tuesday morning. Is this a good idea? DJ starts his rehab today. Yes or no?
95%. 95%, dude. No, the Yankee fans in this instance, they know, because part of this is expectation with the staff. Yeah, hell yeah.
But just like, if a Twitter poll is going to be so lopsided that something is a bad idea, and you as an organization can't like just figure that out, it's just so frustrating. And the last thing I'll say is Brian Cashman. There was another article in The Athletic. Brian Cashman was talking about the Yankees' depth, and he said, I don't feel like we have a backup first baseman right now on the roster. Rizzo is being run out there every day. Obviously, if LeMahieu was here, you could swing DJ and give us some coverage. I know Cabrera can play first, but then who's playing third? I feel like we have a little bit of an exposure at first base covering behind Rizzo, and the left side of the infield coverage is exposed with Birdie down and LeMahieu down. We're a little bit vulnerable because of that. We have a little bit of a hiccup there, and we are hoping we'll get solved when LeMahieu comes back. It is what it is.
But we can't do a goddamn thing about it, because even if we sign a guy who has a $1 million contract, that $1 million contract becomes a $2 million contract, and we can't do that.
Yeah, so The Athletic floated Garrett Cooper, who you'll obviously remember that name, as a first base depth option. He was DFA'd by the Cubs. He's making $1.5 million this year. In 12 games with the Cubs, a 118 WRC plus. It's just, come on, guys. Like,
I also don't disagree with him completely. Like, you can weather a storm for something like this and get a guy over there for a couple games. You can
I'm not getting on. I'm more
Wells,
angered.
Trevino, like those guys could go over there and play a little bit of first base if you needed them to.
But you know what else? Like, you've seen how bad Gleyber's been. Having a more competent backup second baseman might give Gleyber a couple days off to get his bat back on track, and they don't have the luxury of doing that right now.
Yeah, and well, I think the Birdie injury, which that's unfortunate, is a problem, because that's exactly why that guy was brought in, and it was a good move. He was the exact type of player that you want to bring in, and unfortunately he got injured. So
and I'm sure stuff like happened with the DJ goes on in other organizations, and we're just not privy to it because we don't follow organizations. But man, is it frustrating.
Yeah.
All right. That's going to wrap up today's show. Thank you guys so much for listening. and we will talk to you again after the weekend series in Milwaukee.